Well, Africa, thank you so much for talking to us here at the Aussie Wire. We're in the atrium. People are having tea and coffee right here. There's a lot of noise around. I do apologise for that, but thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
Now, we're at the launch of the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship. You've taken 3 days out of your life. Can you tell us a little bit about who are you and what brought you here willing to make that kind of time commitment?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you so much. Just the vibrancy of this space feels so transformative for me. So I'm a writer, and a speaker, and a thinker. Actually, very close people that I have in my life have put this together. They have founded the ARC conference. So it feels very good to be around people that have been championing things like freedom of expression for a very, very long time.
Sure.
And it's been part of my own journey for the past 6 years.
Okay.
I was someone that has been in the realm of personal improvement, psychology for a very long time, studying self-sabotage to be specific.
Okay.
Something took a shift in the past 5 years when I started to notice that even in private conversations, people constantly feel like they're walking on eggshells. We feel like the sense of surveillance within conversations, where you're sort of skirting around saying what it is you really want to say. So when I started to notice this, even in my own private conversations, there was a bit of an alarm that started to go off. And then I started to notice that it became somewhat uncomfortable to ask even the most simplest questions, especially with anything to do with the culture, especially with anything to do with politics, let's say race or gender or whatever the thing of the day is. Asking questions just started to seem like it was a no-go. Again, for me as someone that has been studying self-sabotage for a long time, I can see that there's contradiction between what we're saying we want as a collective versus our behavior. We're saying we want openness, but we're not allowing for people to ask questions. We're saying that we want unity, but only with those that echo the exact same worldview
saying
as
we want
us.
tolerance, but we're intolerant of people with a different idea. I see.
But then I also spotted the intolerance within myself, which is why I was forced to kind of confront a lot of the things that I thought were true.
That's rare.
Yeah.
It's very easy. Most of us can very quickly identify all sorts of problems out there. It's much more unusual for someone to go, yes, I can see all those problems out there and I'm a part of that problem. So was that because of your own, the work that you'd already done on self-sabotage and these things that you were able to do that, or was there some other catalyst that allowed you to see that in yourself?
It was both. It was both. I think, of course, I had the intellectual property and understanding from my work and my own experiences. But I started to notice that when I was around people that were not part of my immediate circle, anytime that someone else asked the questions, my defenses would go up instantly. So I was shown my intolerance in a way that I couldn't avoid anymore. You know, I had to face that cognitive dissonance. So that allowed for me to move away from just looking at self-sabotage and looking at what I refer to as collective sabotage. People know it as cancel culture, but then I realized there's something fascinating that's happening here. And I think self-censorship is at the core of it. So that's where my work leads me.
So you equate censorship and self-censorship as a cultural self-sabotage?
Of course, absolutely. Self-censoring, where you withhold your ideas and your true opinions and your worldview from a place of fear, that is a self-sabotaging mindset. But then it means that you have self-sabotaging behavior as a result of it. And it's happening on a collective level. So for me, being somewhere like ARC, where we can have those conversations, where you're not forced to pick a side, where you can be from either side of the political spectrum, you might be apolitical, but you're a part of the conversation. To me, that is vital. A lot of the things that are being created today are for people that are on the left or for people that are on the right. So we tighten the echo chamber. There might be more of us, but the echo chamber is still very much tight. And I can see that with ARC, there's an opportunity for something very, very different.
Well, there's a lot of people online criticising this as just another elite talk fest, or it's some right-wing nut job talk fest. It's the right-wing version of the World Economic Forum, where these various ideas, you're here, you're seeing it with your own eyes. What is this? What is it?
For me, especially as a left-leaning person, for me, I can see openness. I can see people from all walks of life, and I truly mean all walks of life. People that I have known from my personal life, but also people that I'm meeting for the first time and hearing their stories, people that are teachers, people that are parents, people that are just the everyday person, people that are all across the class spectrum, even. And there's so much opportunity for these conversations to be had in different spaces. So for me, I'm actually seeing the evidence of what is, the reality of what is, not what people assume for it to be.
Absolutely, and as you say, as you made the point earlier about sort of that self-criticism and being able to see the reality of something as opposed to the perception. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
What can something like this achieve? How could this possibly help people in the real world?
For me, I think, which is something that I've seen in the past 3 days, it's focusing on the how.
Okay.
I think people now more than ever need actual solutions. I think people have heard a lot of the why. People know that there's a culture war. People know that there's intolerance. People are familiar with cancel culture. But it's about what are the everyday solutions? What can every single person that is here do to carry on this conversation? So do you volunteer to speak in a school? Someone like me, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Going into neighborhoods that are actually underprivileged, truly underprivileged, bringing these conversations. How can younger people start to learn about critical thinking? How can we start to have conversations with people that have more influence on the education system? How can we start to use our platforms and creating workshops, especially for younger people? Because I think those are the people that can't be excluded, because they're the ones that are most affected and will continue to be. And because I've been having so many conversations with people, hundreds of people in the past few days, everyone wants the solution. Everyone's actually talking about the how, and I think that's a very, very good sign.
Now, your background is arts. You said you're a writer and so forth, and you've said a few times that your background is more left-leaning, more left-wing. How are you finding your place? Do you still find that you have a place in that world, even though you're going to places like this where a lot of them, to be blunt, wouldn't?
I find that I'm not over-attached to any specific identity. I'm not over-attached to the left or to the right. I'm not over-attached to being a woman. I'm not over-attached to being black. I just am. You know. So I think that allows me to navigate all of these worlds in a very fluid way. Because I don't lead with saying I am on the left. But when I need for people to understand my position a little bit better, then it's something that I'll put forward. So I think I actually have an advantage, and I'm also going to be very honest, as a black woman in an identity-obsessed world, I can have conversations in a way that most people can't. And I take that responsibility and that privilege, in the truest sense, very seriously. So I think I also approach things from a place of genuine curiosity. I'm not forcing my worldview onto anyone, and I think that helps. Because the reality is that I find the new left to be extremely intolerant. And a lot of those people are my people, so I know how to speak to them. I know how to kind of allow for them to understand that we don't have to be in the binary. If we can be non-binary in terms of gender, I promise you we can do it in terms of thinking.
In terms of politics.
I think we can do it.
Fantastic.
And I use humor as well, so that helps.
Yeah.
But I think I'm able to navigate all of the spaces because I don't lead with this kind of staunch claiming of any side. And I think that helps.
Culturally, we're being told a story that has a lot of decay, a lot of decline, a lot of despair. Young people today, we're seeing an enormous amount of mental health issues, and Jonathan Haidt had some insights into that. But zooming back from what he had to say, it's not a surprise when we're telling kids your planet is going to burn, and the future is poorer and harder, and there are too many people. We need to get rid of a bunch of people. These sorts of narratives. What do you see when you look into the future? Do you see decline? Do you see hope? What do you see?
That's such a good question. I always see hope. And I always see hope not in a bypassing way or ignoring the reality of what is. I just think we're in a time of so much opportunity. The fact that you and I can have this conversation just sitting one-to-one, but it can be heard by thousands of people who continue a conversation. Young people who see me as a black woman and think, oh my goodness, I get to think in this way. To me, that's a very, very hopeful lens in which I can look at life through. And the fact that my work and my words and yours can resonate with so many people from all walks of life, and they can have access to it on their phone. There's no gatekeeper, for these conversations. That allows me to remain hopeful. I'm realistic about the world we live in and the adversity, and that things might get a little bit worse before they get better. But I think the fact that we can even have this dialogue, to me, that's a hopeful sign.
Well, Africa, thank you so much for your time and for chatting with us here on the Aussie Wire. Appreciate it.
Thank you.